we are drowning in action. But what if the way forward is to stop forcing? What if wisdom isn't found in the noise, but in the silence beneath it? In our world, speed is worshipped. Emails fly, calendars fill. Grind is gospel, we're told. Push harder, do more, get ahead. But beneath all that motion, many feel lost. There's a kind of fatigue that no amount of sleep can cure. It comes not from doing too little, but from always pushing against the grain of life. And in that quiet exhaustion, a whisper emerges from ancient China. It doesn't shout, it doesn't sell, it simply says, "Do nothing, and everything is done." These words, seemingly absurd, come from Laozi, the mythical sage behind the Tao Te Ching, a book so brief you could finish it between 2 subway stops, and yet so deep that monks have spent lifetimes in its contemplation. It is a riddle, a compass, a mirror. But who was Laozi? Was he even real? Some say he was a contemporary of Confucius, others a legend, more myth than man. But the mystery is part of the message. The Tao itself is ungraspable, undefinable. Laozi once wrote, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao." What we know is that Laozi saw a world fraying at its seams. He saw ambition turning to corruption, rituals becoming hollow, and wisdom being drowned in noise. And so he did something radical. He left. As legend goes, Laozi served as the keeper of the imperial archives, a quiet guardian of history. But seeing the chaos, the court's decay, the endless striving of men chasing names etched in dust, he turned away, riding west on the back of an ox, toward the setting sun and the silence of the mountains. But before he vanished, a border guard, sensing something rare in his presence, begged him, "Please, before you go, write down what you know." What he left behind was the Tao Te Ching, 81 verses of paradox and poetry, text that doesn't tell you what to do, but shows you how to see. In its heart is the idea of Wu Wei. Often mistranslated as non-action, Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It means something subtler, more profound, not forcing. It is the principle of effortless alignment, of acting in harmony with the flow of life rather than wrestling it into submission. Like water, soft yet unstoppable, doesn't oppose the rock, flows around it, shapes it, wears it down. Wu Wei is the wisdom of the river, the quiet power of the seed that becomes a tree. It invites us to trust the rhythms of nature, to listen rather than impose. It asks, must you always push, or can you allow? But this leads to an unsettling question. Can such stillness survive in our modern world? In boardrooms, in deadlines, in ambition and survival? Surprisingly, science is beginning to echo Laozi's ancient insights. Neuroscientists studying flow states have found that the highest levels of performance in sports, in art, in thought, don't emerge from intense effort. They arise when the self quiets, when striving stops and presence deepens, brain waves harmonize, time dilates. Action becomes effortless. It's not idleness, it's immersion. And it's uncannily similar to Wu Wei. In psychology, acceptance and commitment therapy encourages not the control of thoughts, but the witnessing of them. By ceasing to wrestle with our inner storms, we find stillness, healing, clarity. Laozi might smile at this. He never told us to suppress desire, but to observe it until its grip weakens. Taught not escape but surrender, and not domination but dance. Even in leadership, the Taoist ideal stands in contrast to the ego-driven command. Laozi writes, "A leader is best when people barely know he exists." True leadership, he suggests, is invisible. It guides without grasping, inspires without imposing. In this light, Wu Wei is not weakness. It is mastery without control. And he doesn't stop there. In one of his most haunting verses, he says, "A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving." This is a radical philosophy. In a world obsessed with goals, it invites us into presence, into trust. Taoism did not end with Laozi. Its currents flowed through Chinese medicine, martial arts, poetry, and painting. Through the stillness of Zen and the simplicity of the tea ceremony, through the gentle arc of calligraphy and the empty space between brushstrokes, in every tradition that honors silence over shouting, Grace over force, Laozi lives on. Even Bruce Lee, whose kicks could shatter wood, once said, "Be water, my friend." That was not bravado. It was Tao. Today, in a world that rewards overproduction and burnout, Taoism whispers a different kind of strength. It's not the strength to dominate, but to yield. It's not the will to control, but the wisdom to let go. And in a society that equates rest with laziness, this is revolutionary. Letting go is an act of courage. It's not always easy, but it is often necessary, because clinging only deepens the pain. So we return to the beginning. In a culture of endless hustle, in a time where burnout is worn like a badge, what if the answer is not one more step forward, but a step back? Laozi's voice is still here, not in slogans, in silence. Not in instruction, but in invitation. It lives in the wind, moving through leaves, in the river gliding over stone. In your breath, when you finally remember to breathe, he does not argue, he does not demand, he only shows. The Tao flows everywhere, to all things, yet it asks for nothing. So when the world pulls at you more or faster now, perhaps try this instead. Pause. Let go. Be still. And listen, because sometimes the most powerful act you can take is not doing.